I'm just curious, where do you think the 13-week thing came from? Because it's just like everyone seems to say 13-week. I have no idea, but I find it funny that that's such a pervasive idea. Where did that number come from? Who came up with that number in finance land and made that the prevailing idea? The question you should be asking yourself is, how many weeks of weekly cash visibility do I need and why? Right? You need to have a good reason. You don't just and this is going to come up time and time again in this conversation, but what's the reason behind why you're creating such a forecast or such a report?
Yeah, it's a good question. And I mean, there's a couple brands that we work with that come to mind. Just recently, this question came up. When you're fighting day to day and cash is real tight, then yeah, it makes sense to have a weekly cash flow plan to show all the ins and outs, right? It's going to show all your receipts coming in, all your payments out, meaning it could be for inventory, it could be for overhead like payroll, could be paying off credit cards. It's important to get the timing of those right when you are in a cash crunch. But that doesn't mean it needs to be 13 weeks exactly. In fact, it often is really only helpful in the next 4 to 6 weeks, I would say. You don't really have such great visibility beyond the next 4 to 6 weeks, and the accuracy drops off substantially when you don't have that visibility, right? So I think that's an important caveat, is like shortening the time frame, making it easier on yourself and having much more conviction in the numbers is one area where it could be very helpful. And then I would also add, like, there's another nuance here, which is a lot of businesses are very seasonal, and in your slower months, you have both less revenue coming in, and you're also building up inventory ahead of the busy season. And so in those times of the year, it might make sense to make sure you're not flying too close to zero in your bank accounts. So there could be like seasonal times, there could just be tough times where it's needed, but I would never say that like it's always needed all of the time as like a blanket rule.